The British Broadcasting Corporation is a public service broadcaster, headquartered at Broadcasting House in Westminster, London. It is the world's oldest national broadcaster, and the largest broadcaster in the world by number of employees, employing over 22,000 staff in total, of whom more than 19,000 are in public sector broadcasting. The total number of BBC staff amounts to 35,402 including part-time, flexible, and fixed contract staff. The BBC is established under a royal charter and operates under its agreement with the Secretary of State for Digital, Culture, Media and Sport. Its work is funded principally by an annual television license fee which is charged to all British households, companies, and organizations using any type of equipment to receive or record live television broadcasts and iPlayer catch-up. The fee is set by the British government, agreed by Parliament, and used to fund the BBC's radio, TV, and online services covering the nations and regions of the UK. Since the 1st of April 2014, it has also funded the BBC World Service, which broadcasts in 28 languages and provides comprehensive TV, radio, and online services in Arabic and Persian. Around a quarter of BBC's revenue comes from its commercial subsidiary BBC Studios, which sells BBC programs and services internationally and also distributes the BBC's international 24-hour English language news services BBC World News, and from bbc.com, provided by BBC Global News Ltd. In 2009, the company was awarded the Queen's Award for Enterprise in recognition of its international achievements. From its inception, through the Second World War, to the popularization of television in the post-World War II era and the Internet in the late 20th and early 21st centuries, the BBC has played a prominent role in British life and culture. It is also known colloquially as the Beeb, Auntie, or a combination of both. Britain's first live public broadcast was made from the factory of Marconi's Wireless Telegraph Company in Chelmsford in June 1920. It was sponsored by the Daily Mail's Lord Northcliffe and featured the famous Australian soprano, Dame Nellie Melba. The Melba broadcast caught the people's imagination and marked a turning point in the British public's attitude to radio. However, this public enthusiasm was not shared in official circles where such broadcasts were held to interfere with important military and civil communications. By late 1920, pressure from these quarters and uneasiness among the staff of the licensing authority, the General Post Office, was sufficient to lead to a ban on further Chelmsford broadcasts. But by 1922, the GPO had received nearly 100 broadcast license requests and moved to rescind its ban in the wake of a petition by 63 wireless societies with over 3,000 members, anxious to avoid the same chaotic expansion experienced in the United States. The GPO proposed that it would issue a single broadcasting license to a company jointly owned by a consortium of leading wireless receiver manufacturers, to be known as the British Broadcasting Company Ltd. John Reith, a Scottish Calvinist, was appointed its general manager in December 1922, a few weeks after the company made its first official broadcast. L. Stanton Jeffries was its first director of music. The company was to be financed by a royalty on the sale of BBC wireless receiving sets from approved domestic manufacturers. To this day, the BBC aims to follow the Rythian directive to inform, educate and entertain. The financial arrangements soon proved inadequate. Set sales were disappointing as amateurs made their own receivers and listeners bought rival, unlicensed sets. By mid-1923, discussions between the GPO and the BBC had become deadlocked and the Postmaster General commissioned a review of broadcasting by the Sykes Committee. The committee recommended a short-term reorganization of license fees with improved enforcement in order to address the BBC's immediate financial distress, and an increased share of the license revenue split between it and the GPO. This was to be followed by a simple 10 shillings license fee with no royalty once the wireless manufacturer's protection expired. The BBC's broadcasting monopoly was made explicit for the duration of its current broadcast license, as was the prohibition on advertising. The BBC was also banned from presenting news bulletins before 1900 and was required to source all news from external wire services. Mid-1925 found the future of broadcasting under further consideration, this time by the Crawford Committee. By now, the BBC, under Reed's leadership, had forged a consensus favouring a continuation of the unified broadcasting service. But more money was still required to finance rapid expansion. Wireless manufacturers were anxious to exit the loss-making consortium, with Reed keen that the BBC be seen as a public service rather than a commercial enterprise. The recommendations of the Crawford Committee were published in March. The F.